Welcome to a special slice Puretsu Pizza Power here with episode 5 of WCW Dangerous Days, and this should be our best episode yet, as we are just one show away from Clash of the Champions 18, and that show is being held right now, World Championship Wrestling. Before we get to the TV portion of proceedings, we have got 3 dart matches, and the first of those being a match with a decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling, as the Tailor-Made Man defeated Bill Kazmaier in 8 minutes 4 seconds with a flying forearm smash leading to the pinfall. And the Tailor-Made Man had a strong in-ring performance there, 55, Bill Kazmaier 37 performance, and Bill Kazmaier is in his final days here in WCW because his contract is not being renewed. On to our next dart match. Big Josh defeated Pat Rose via submission at 6 minutes 43 seconds, and the match had a decent reaction from the crowd, and Big Josh had an in-ring performance of 43, not much better than the enhancement talent Pat Rose, in all honesty. Moving along to our final dart match, and it is Diamond Dallas Page defeating the Italian Stallion just after the 6 minute mark with a diamond cutter. Decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. Just thought we would give DDP a victory here in a dart match, because on TV he's had a few losses lately. So DDP is definitely a guy we certainly don't want to job him out. I've got plans for Diamond Dallas Page, even though it might not look like that going by my current booking. We have got plans for DDP, believe me. So just want to keep his win-loss ratio decent. Now moving into our TV broadcast of World Championship Wrestling, and we start out lava hot, folks, because we have a 75 rating for this 6-man tag with good heat and decent wrestling. Barry Windham, the Dragon Ricky Steamboat, and the Natural Dustin Rhodes defeated the Dangerous Alliance trio of Stunning Steve Austin, the Enforcer Arn Anderson, and Beautiful Bobby Eaton, when Barry Windham pinned Beautiful Bobby after 14 minutes and 10 seconds following a superplex. The match was designed to tell a specific story, and in terms of in-ring work, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was head and shoulders above everyone else, and the in-ring performance stats certainly reflect that, with everybody putting in a good night of work, but Ricky Steamboat is the clear standout there with 81, even though once again he was off his game. Ricky Steamboat, you could keep being off your game, mate, because you are still delivering the goods as far as I'm concerned. And this segment gained our heat as well, which is lovely to see. Paulie Dangerously did some good work at ringside, and he definitely needs some more vocal promos lately, because the last few shows he hasn't been given the opportunity to talk as much. And just to make you guys aware of that, I am aware of that, and this is Dangerous Days after all, and Paulie Dangerously definitely needs to be given more opportunities to shine on the microphone, as he can do so well. So this match got the show off to a strong start. Hot crowd, this is what we like to see. Moving on, a 48 segment rating for this, and Medusa heads out to the ring following the match, and she confronts Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. She attempts to goad him, telling him that she's smarter than him and he can't handle that she knows how to predict his every move, which is why she's been able to interject and play a factor in him losing so many of his matches in recent months. Just like the US champion Rick Rude is also smarter than him. This is why, she claims, she knows Steamboat will never even get a chance to face Rick Rude for the US Championship. And she also knows that Ricky Steamboat and his partner, the Natural Dustin Rhodes, they will lose the World Tag Team Championships this weekend at the Clash to Double A and Beautiful Bobby. Rather than get annoyed by Medusa's words, Ricky Steamboat just smiles. Medusa sees this, and she don't like it, and in response she attempts to slap Steamboat, but he intercepts the slap and takes the microphone from the grasp of her other hand. Steamboat then says that he doesn't think Medusa has predicted what's coming next, and he asks her to look behind her for a surprise. As Medusa turns around, she sees the presence of Wendy Richter. Medusa looks on in shock at the sight of the former WWF Women's Champion. Steamboat tells Medusa that as a man, he would never physically retaliate to her, But now that's Wendy's job. And with her eyes lighting up on that cue from the Dragon, Wendy Richter dives in on Medusa and gets the better of her in a brawl that ensues between the two. The Dangerous Alliance members, Arn Anderson, Steve Austin and Beautiful Bobby, they manage to pull Medusa out of the ring to safety, while Wendy stands triumphantly alongside the Dragon. Wendy Richter has arrived in WCW. Segment rating of 48. The crowd is still hot. Wendy Richter debuted with a fan favourite gimmick and it got an initial rating of adequate. Moving along to our next match, and it's a decent one, with the gentleman Chris Adams, who has his wife Tony Adams with him at ringside. Not Tony Storm, as I said in the first recording of this, which led to me re-recording the episode that you see now. So yes, his wife was definitely Tony Adams. Even though Tony Storm is timeless, she was not around on the wrestling scene in 1992. So yeah, gentleman Chris Adams defeats the Diamond Stud in 8 minutes 29 via pinfall following a super kick. Good stuff there. Even though Chris Adams was outperformed in ring performance-wise by the Diamond Stud 51. So yeah, the Diamond Stud, this seems a good time to talk about him. Even though the booking so far might not reflect it, the Diamond Stud is a guy that we are going to do things with. Just watch this space. Moving along to our next segment, and straight after the match, Gordon Solie interviews gentleman Chris Adams, asking him for his response to the recent attack and comments from the Cruncher Larry Zbyszko. Adams says that he actually has little desire to give words regarding Zbyszko. He wants actions to do the talking and serve as the payback. Thankfully, he's going to get the opportunity to gain that payback because WCW management have granted him his request, as he's found out earlier today. They've granted him his request for a match with the Cruncher this weekend at Clash of the Champions. So that's another match we can add to the card. Adams says that seeing as Larry wants to address his relevancy, he's going to relish the opportunity to show Zbyszko just how relevant he still is by beating him at the Clash 1, 2, 3. Moving along to the next bout. Well, before we get to the bout, we have some shenanigans before the match can get underway. Because as Sting and Ron Simmons head out to the ring for their scheduled main event tag match against the Great Muta and Mr. Hughes, they are jumped by Mr. Hughes and the Great Muta. Sting and Ron Simmons fight back, brawling with the duo, and they brawl into the ring, where the referee wastes no time calling for the bell to get the match officially underway. The Great Muta looked good, and he foreshadowed a heel turn during this segment, which we should have done earlier, but we're doing it now. So the Great Muta is officially a heel, complete success with that turn, 58 segment rating, and we move on to the match itself, a 67 rating, great heat and decent wrestling. The Great Muta and Mr. Hughes defeat Sting and Ron Simmons in 12 minutes 26 after Mr. Hughes pinned Ron Simmons with a power slam following interference from Big Van Vader. The match was designed so that the wrestlers could go out and try and steal the show. Mr. Hughes was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else. Sting had the... No, sorry, I nearly misspoke there. Sting didn't have the best in-ring performance at 73. That honour went to the Great Muta with his in-ring performance of 79. But yeah, Mr. Hughes was definitely the weak link with an in-ring performance of 45. Brilliant that our storylines are gaining heat. The match got the crowd buzzing. So at the end of the day, it did its job. Happy with that. But let's get to what happened after the match, because we are not done. So after the match, we had Sting and Ron Simmons coming unstuck in a post-match 3-on-2 attack at the hands of Harley Race's trio of clients, Big Van Vader, the Great Muta and Mr. Hughes. It's the shocking appearance of Cactus Jack, who rushes out to ringside and heads right for Vader. Remember that he was recently attacked by Vader. So he's back now looking for vengeance. And Cactus Jack zoning in on Vader helps even up the odds. After a 3-on-3 brawl, Harley Race orders his 3 men to retreat from the ring. Sting and Ron Simmons then regroup, and then they look towards the unlikely ally that they have found in Cactus Jack. So Cactus Jack is now officially a face, and the face turn was a complete success. And we close the show with a segment that I would have hoped would have done better than it did. So with this segment, Cactus Jack tells Sting and Ron Simmons on the microphone that the enemy of his enemy is his friend. And he says he's got two friends who have shared enemies, because he says that Sting has got a date set with the Great Muta, and he wants to team up with Ron Simmons to challenge Mr. Hughes and Vader to a tag team match at Clash of the Champions. And he first asks, is Ron Simmons up for that? And then he looks out to the ring and points to Harley Race, saying, have you got the guts to put your clients up against us? Have you got the guts for that? Harley Race, who's furious at what just happened, shouts, you're on, Cactus. And Ron Simmons looks a little unsure of Cactus Jack, but Sting taps Cactus Jack on the shoulder. He gives him his support, and then Sting seems to motion to Ron Simmons, go for it, trust him. And then Ron Simmons gives it. He paces around for a little bit, but then he walks over to Cactus Jack and nods his head. So we have got another match set for the Clash. Ron Simmons and Cactus Jack will be facing Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. Meanwhile, Sting, as we found out prior to this show, Sting is set for a match with the Great Muta. So we've got a cracking card ahead of us for the Clash. And in that segment, Cactus Jack was superb, working without a script. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. So good stuff, and the crowd was hot at the end of the show. So a 66 rating for that segment. And we lose popularity in 4 regions, but we increase our popularity in 2. Overall show rating was 67. Okay, so we haven't got the Clash just yet. There's just one more stop before the Clash that I forgot about. We've got main event. So we are going to do main event now with 750 people in attendance at the Portland Sports Arena. We've got a couple of dark matches. Brian Pillman and Too Cold Scorpio. This is the first time that we're testing Too Cold Scorpio out in the ring, taking on Bob Cook and Rip Rogers. Terrible pre-show match, unfortunately. Brian Pillman and Too Cold Scorpio, they defeat Bob Cook and Rip Rogers in 6 minutes 37, with Too Cold Scorpio getting the pin after a Scorpio splash. Brian Pillman was head and shoulders above everyone else, as you would expect. Too Cold Scorpio had an in-ring performance of 38. Too Cold is really the reason I booked this match. He's the guy I want to test out, and I want to test out how he works with Brian Pillman, because as we saw on our recent shows, we have introduced Too Cold Scorpio as an ally of Brian Pillman. They've come to know each other through training together, and Brian Pillman introduced Too Cold Scorpio, so he's definitely somebody we want to bring onto our shows. But testing him out both in the ring and testing how he works with Brian Pillman in a few dark matches before we really utilise him on TV. 48 rating there. Moving on. Not a great rating here. Terrible wrestling. Tracy Smothers defeats Jumping Joey Maggs with a jawjacker. Love the name of that move, the jawjacker. Tracy Smothers gets an in-ring performance of 45 and segment rating 38 overall. And we move on to the TV portion of main event, and we start off with a decent tag match. Get used to seeing tag matches on this show, folks. Decent match with the Steiner brothers defeating Richard Morton and Thomas Rich, with Alexandra York present at ringside. Communication errors with Morton and Rich. These two are not getting along, and Alexandra York looked increasingly disenchanted with both of her men as the match went on. And after they lost to the Steiner brothers, she was out of there like a shot. She was not sticking around with those guys. So the match got the crowd hotter, and the show got started strongly. And all storylines connected to this match gained heat as well, which we like to see. 57 segment rating. But after the match, the Steiner brothers were jumped by Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong of the Young Pistols, the US Tag Team Champions, who will be defending those belts against the Steiners at the Clash, sending a message to the Steiners here with a sneak attack. That was a success because they left the brothers down and out on the canvas. 40 rating there. Then we have another good tag match, decent match here, with the Dangerous Alliance duo of Beautiful Bobby Eaton and the Cruncher Larry Zbyszko going to a draw with Chris Adams and Dustin Rhodes following a double countout. So this match was loaded with shenanigans because first of all we had the Enforcer Arn Anderson running to attack Dustin Rhodes, and then the Dragon Ricky Steamboat ran out to even up the odds, attacking Eaton and Zbyszko. So there was all kinds of shenanigans on both sides in this match. So adding more heat to, you know, two contests that we've got coming up at the Clash, that being Chris Adams taking on Larry Zbyszko, and then of course our tag team title match with Dustin Rhodes and Ricky Steamboat defending against Anderson and Eaton. So there we go. And then we had Paulie doing his usual duty of good work at ringside. Dustin was off his game in this match. The match got the crowd hotter, and the standout performance was of Larry Zbyszko in this match, but Dustin Rhodes wasn't far behind with a performance of 60. 66 segment rating overall. Crowd was white hot at the end of that one. And then a really strong segment here. We've got the crowd to very hot. So we had two brawls spill out on two sides of the venue. So first of all, Gentleman Chris Adams and the Cruncher Larry Zbyszko, they just got into a wild brawl that went to the left side of the arena, while the 2-on-2 brawl with Steamboat and Rhodes battling with Anderson and Eaton, that spilled out on the right side of the arena. Security was scattering all over the venue. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know how to deal with either brawl. Just pandemonium, just absolute pandemonium, and the fans didn't know where to look. So just wild scenes, adding heat to two matches that are coming up at the Clash. Larry Zbyszko looked good in that segment, though Chris Adams came across as underwhelming. Ricky Steamboat came out looking excellent. 72 segment rating, very happy with that one. Then we move on to tag team action. Big Van Vader, I believe this is Vader's first in-ring action since coming back. Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes with Harley Race at ringside, taking on JYD and Johnny B. Bad. Decent contest here with Vader and Hughes defeating JYD and Johnny B. Bad when Vader scored the pin at 8 minutes 24 following the Vader bomb. Vader carried the match in terms of in-ring performance. Johnny B. Bad and Junkyard Dog were both off their game. And then we have an absolutely abysmal segment. I can't believe how badly rated that is. Only 3. Oh my god. We have a segment for Sky Striker. So we see a mysterious video featuring special effects and animations showing an unknown masked figure flying through space and shattering stars and asteroids with stunning aerial maneuvers. This must have exhausted the budget of WCW at the time. The figure is then shown entering the orbit of Earth, flying through the sky alongside birds and planes. After an explosion, we see the words Sky Striker taken to the skies of WCW, coming soon. The crowd were still very hot somehow after that. Sky Striker has debuted. His Masked Man gimmick has got an initial rating of great. Well, this guy, if you don't know, it's Jerry Lynn. So I've signed Jerry Lynn. We're bringing him in to be a part of our light heavyweight division. Hopefully the matches are better than this first segment. It can only go up from here. And hopefully this is not one for the archives of Wrestle Crap going forth. But yeah, the Sky Striker is on his way, folks. Let's move on. And we cleanse our palate with a segment rating 52 for this 6-man tag team action. It's the Tailor-Made Man and the Fabulous Freebirds battling with Big Josh, Van Hammer and PN News, the two music masters. The bout got a decent reaction from the crowd, subpar wrestling though. Tailor-Made Man and the Freebirds drew with Big Josh, Van Hammer and PN News just after the 10-minute mark following a double count out. The match was designed so that the wrestlers could go out there and try and steal the show. So yeah, this just planted more seeds of heat for two respective matches that we will be having on the Clash, because we will be having the Freebirds against the Music Masters, and we'll also be having Big Josh and the Tailor-Made Man. So the match got the crowd buzzing, very hot. So Jimmy Garvin and Van Hammer were both off their game, and the Freebirds Music Masters gain heat, that feud, and so did Big Josh and Terence Taylor. So yeah, perhaps these guys shouldn't have been in this spot, but it could have been a lot worse. And I think going on after that last segment helped, definitely. Our show is not done yet because we end the show with a pre-taped hype video with Gordon Soley getting comments from both Sting and the manager of the Great Muta Hardy Race, building up the upcoming Sting and Great Muta match at the Clash. And in Sting's comments, he said that he's fought Muta before. He's got a great deal of respect for him as a competitor, though he is disappointed with his recent decisions and his choice to align with Hardy Race. And he's going to find out that that's a very problematic and costly decision, because squaring up with the Stinger, with all the support of the little Stingers by his side, it's not going to end well for the Great Muta. And Sting says he's going to defeat the Great Muta at the Clash, and then it's all eyes back on where they belong, and that is on the prize of the World Heavyweight Championship and the total package Lex Luger. On the other side of the coin, when Gordon Soley gets comments from Hardy Race, who has the Great Muta there with him, looking very intimidating, Hardy Race says that the Great Muta was handpicked not just by himself, but also by the World Heavyweight Champion, the total package Lex Luger, to be the man to neutralise Sting and make sure Sting is taken out of the equation. And he warns, with the very little piece of feeling he has, he warns all parents bringing their children to the Clash to prepare for tears, because it's going to be a night that does not end well for Sting. There's going to be no fairy tale ending for Sting and all of his little Stingers. He's going to be met with a harsh dose of painful, cold, cruel reality. So a 69 segment rating there, and we are now officially ready for the Clash. Our overall rating for that was 58. Serviceable show. Bring on the Clash. It is finally time for Clash of the Champions 18 in front of 16,500. That is a sellout at the Reunion Arena. So before we get to the televised coverage, we've got a couple of dark matches. The first one seeing Johnny B. Bad taking on Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker. And Johnny B. Bad defeated Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker in 7 minutes 30 seconds by pinfall following a wild thing. The bout didn't have much heat and pretty terrible wrestling. 39 segment rating overall. And then we move on to a 6-man tag match. Now, this has got some points of interest, including 2 new faces to WCW that I will talk about momentarily. But we have in the 6-man bout, Flying Brian Pillman, Too Cold Scorpio and Arachnaman defeating George South, Scotty Flamingo and the Lightning Kid in 6 minutes 50, when Too Cold Scorpio pinned George South following a Scorpio splash. The match was designed to work the crowd, and it had subpar wrestling and little heat. So the 2 new faces, as you've probably gathered, are Scotty Flamingo and the Lightning Kid. Scotty Flamingo, of course, Scott Levy, in reality best known for going on to pretty good fame with the Raven character, and the Lightning Kid better known for achieving fame as the 1-2-3 Kid and further fame as X-Pac. So here in 1992, I've signed these 2 young guys because I have hopes for them being decent additions to our light heavyweight division. And as we've already discussed on prior videos, the light heavyweight division is an area that we definitely need to do some considerable work on. So I'm hoping these 2 guys are going to shine in dark matches, because that's how I'm going to use them for the next little while. I'm not going to introduce them to TV just yet. Just want to experiment with them and just see how they hang, really. And it's the same with Too Cold Scorpio, because even though we did introduce Too Cold Scorpio in a segment on television the week before last, we haven't really used him on TV in a match as such yet. I want to just see how he develops, and also I want to continue to experiment with this buddy relationship he's got with Flying Brian Pillman. So yeah, Gonna just keep developing these guys in dark matches. That's the plan. We'll just see how we go. So Scotty Flamingo debuted an arrogant heel gimmick, and the Lightning Kid debuted a cocky youth gimmick. Both got an initial rating of great, which is what we like to see. 57 segment rating. That's, I'm quite happy with that rating, to be fair, for a dark match. So we now move on to Clash of the Champions 18. And we open the show with a hype video just overlooking all of the matches that are coming up on the event, but playing main focus obviously to the main event between Sting and the Great Muta. 58 segment rating there. And then we have a really strong segment rating here, 81. And looking at that picture there, you can probably gather who's on his way. Sat at the ringside commentary table, Jim Ross welcomes us to Clash of the Champions 18. Good old JR then says it's time to introduce the newest member of the WCW broadcasting team. The rumours are true, the hotlines were correct for once. He's here, Jesse the Body Ventura. After making his entrance into the arena elaborately riding a Harley Davidson, Jesse the Body joins Jim Ross at the commentary table. Ventura says that he goes where the greatness is, and the greatest wrestling action of the 1990s is right here in World Championship Wrestling. Jesse then says that while tonight will be remembered for his huge arrival, it's also going to be remembered for a huge farewell, as when the Great Muta is done with Sting tonight, he predicts that the Stinger is going to be left a broken shell of the man he's been. Ventura warns that Sting has been so focused on the total package Lex Luger and getting a chance at his WCW World Heavyweight Championship that he's coming to this match tonight with the Great Muta, underestimating the danger that the Japanese sensation poses to him. And it will be at the hands of the Great Muta that the career of Sting will be ended tonight. So Jesse Ventura debuted a cocky gimmick and it got an initial rating of great. The Sting Lex Luger storyline has advanced in heat, brilliant, and Jesse Ventura improvised well throughout the segment, and Jim Ross was superb working without a script. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time, so very strong segment there and a great way to introduce Jesse the Body Ventura to WCW, much like reality, because he did come into WCW on the Clash 18. In reality, we have we've copied real life here to bring the Body in. He's free, he's available, great stats, great popularity. Why not bring Jesse the Body in? It was a no-brainer. So we've got Jesse Ventura here with us in our WCW 1992 Dangerous Days, and he will be doing commentary with Jim Ross going forth on World Championship Wrestling every week. And we get to the first televised bout of the show, and we have the team that would have been an unlikely duo just a couple of days ago, as Cactus Jack and Ron Simmons teamed up in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling to put away Harley Race's dangerous duo of Big Van Vader and Mr. Hughes. The finish came after 13 minutes and 49 seconds of action when Ron Simmons pinned Mr. Hughes following a spine buster. Big Van Vader carried the match in terms of in-ring performance, and Mr. Hughes was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everybody else. And looking at the stats here, Big Van Vader, a 77 rating for Vader. He was head and shoulders above everyone else here. And Cactus Jack and Ron Simmons were in the lower 60s, while Mr. Hughes was way down at 50 with his in-ring performance. 62 rating overall. Moving on, we have a decent match as the Cruncher, Larry Sabisco of the Dangerous Alliance, defeats the Gentleman, Chris Adams, in 13 minutes 54 via pinfall with a quick cradle. And this match was not without controversy, as Stunning Steve Austin, the television champion, appeared at ringside. And Chris Adams' wife Tony was at ringside, and Stunning Steve distracted Chris Adams by zoning in on Tony Adams, threatening danger towards her, and this distraction helped cost Adams the match. So Adams came unstuck thanks to his pupil turned rival, stunning Steve Austin. So 66 rating there, and Larry Zbyszko, the Cruncher, gets the win over Adams, and that is not the result Chris Adams would have wanted in his first feature match here in WCW. So yeah, not the best result at all for Chris Adams, and it's Steve Austin that is largely to blame. Moving forth to tag team action. Decent reaction from the crowd for this one, but subpar wrestling. The Fabulous Freebirds defeated the Music Master duo of PN News and Van Hammer in 8 minutes 20 when Michael Hayes pinned PN News while using the ropes for leverage, so it was a cheap victory. And Michael Hayes and Van Hammer were both off their game in this one. And Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin had the tag team specialist bonus you would expect. And the commentary team of Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura did a good job with this one. And the performance stats of Van Hammer and PN News, not too great at all. 39 for Van Hammer, PN News 35. So the Music Masters, they are a team that I would like to do something with, but the stats they are struggling compared to some of the other teams we've got here. So I think the Freebirds getting the win was the right call with this one. So yeah, we'll see how things go going forth, but a good win for the Freebirds there, even though it did come through sketchy means with Hayes using the ropes for leverage. Moving forth, and we have a backstage interview conducted by Tony Schiavone with Sting. Sting says he knows that just like himself, all of his little stingers have heard the grim predictions and all the doubters, whether it be with threats from the likes of Harley Race or doubts from the newest member of the commentary team, Jesse the Body Ventura. Sting says this isn't the first time he's walked into the den of danger, and it won't be the last, because tonight he will overcome anything and everything that the great Muta has in store for him, because nothing is going to stop the drive that Sting has, and it's a drive with direction, and that direction leads only one way, and that's to Lex Luger and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. A 69 segment rating there. And in our next wrestling of the night, we have Big Josh against the Tailor-Made Man, a match that had decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling. The Tailor-Made Man defeated Big Josh in 9 minutes 3 seconds when Big Josh intentionally that was a blunder actually on the booking. So what happened was Big Josh got counted out because he was attacked by the appearance of a new face here in WCW, Greg the Hammer Valentine. So Greg the Hammer Valentine's attack helped lead to a count-out victory. Big Josh couldn't get back in the ring in time after being attacked by Greg Valentine, and the Tailor-Made Man got the win because of it. So Greg the Hammer Valentine has arrived here in WCW with a grizzled veteran gimmick, and it got an initial rating of great, and he has helped the Tailor-Made Man pick up a victory here. The Big Josh was off his game tonight, 44 segment rating. And then after the bout, the Tailor-Made Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine, they subject Big Josh to a 2-on-1 post-match beatdown, which is thankfully halted once a team of officials and security personnel head into the ring and get the Tailor-Made Man and Valentine to cease the attack. The fans boo as the Tailor-Made Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine shake hands, seemingly cementing an alliance between the two of them. So Greg Valentine has clearly shown up to align with the Tailor-Made Man. Is he going to be a mentor to him? We'll have to see. Time will reveal. But Greg Valentine, another new addition to the WCW roster, a 54 segment rating. And going forth, we have our US tag team title match with the Steiner brothers becoming the new champions in a decent match, defeating the Young Pistols in 11 minutes 42 when Scott Steiner pinned Steve Armstrong following a Steinerizer. The Steiner brothers have become the United States tag team champions. Steve Armstrong was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else. So this was probably a match that, if you've been watching my prior videos, you probably could have guessed I was going to go in this direction. I have got plans for the United States tag team titles that go beyond those titles, if you catch my drift, and the Young Pistols just do not fit into the plans that I've got going forth into Super Brawl. So getting these titles on the Steiner brothers, I feel, was the right call. And you look at the stat differentiation between the Steiners, You know, with Scott having a performance of 71, Rick of 65, and then Tracy Smothers with a performance of 50, and Steve Armstrong really floundering with a performance of 35. I think this was the right call. So we've got the gold, the United States Tag Team gold is now on the waists of the Steiner brothers. 61 segment rating there. Following the bout, the Steiner brothers celebrate in the ring as they've become the new United States Tag Team Champions, and they have got great support from the crowd. 56 rating there. And then we move on to our World Television Championship bout as Stunning Steve Austin defends against Barry Windham in a decent match. And this match sees another title change as Barry Windham defeated Stunning Steve Austin in 15 minutes 3 seconds following a superplex. And the match did have Gentleman Chris Adams come out to ringside and distract Austin. He feigned he was going to super kick Austin only to pull back, but that momentary distraction helped swing the match in Barry Windham's favour. So this was also a retaliation from Chris Adams for Austin interjecting himself into his match earlier in the evening with Larry Sabisco. So Barry Windham wins the television championship, and as you can imagine, Steve Austin and his manager Paulie Dangerously were both furious. They were both really unhappy with the result of this one, while Barry Windham was obviously overjoyed. 63 segment rating, and going on straight after the match, Gordon Soley enters the ring to get some comments with the new television champion Barry Windham, and Windham says it's been far too long since I last held gold around my waist. And he was clearly emotional as he said this. And then Barry Windham also went on to add, with this championship, it's about these great fans just as much as it's about me. This is going to be our championship, and I promise to elevate the status of the World Television Championship by being a true fighting champion every single week on television. I welcome anyone to step up and challenge me if they think they want the smoke, because they'll get more than they can handle from smoking Barry Windham. So Barry Windham improvised well throughout the segment, 62 segment rating. So I will just say that with the result of Austin and Windham, I could have gone many different ways with that. I was going back and forth on whether to have Austin keep the gold or Windham win it, but given the storyline plans I've got for both Windham and Austin going forth, it seemed like the right call to put that title on Barry Windham. But Austin, I've obviously got big things planned for Steve Austin, but I've also got some exciting plans for Barry Windham that centre around him being the television champion. So hopefully this will be a result that time will go on to say was the correct result. Oh, a great rating next, a 70 segment rating for our WCW World Tag Team Championship match. A good match as Arn Anderson and beautiful Bobby Eaton of the Dangerous Alliance defeat Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and the Natural Dustin Rhodes to become the new WCW World Tag Team Champions. The match result came in 15 minutes 36 seconds when Anderson pinned Dustin Rhodes following a spinning spinebuster after there was interference from Paulie Dangerously, but there was also other things happening. So Wendy Richter was at ringside to support Ricky Steamboat and also to try and counteract the interference of Paulie Dangerously, but Medusa rushed out to ringside and attempted to distract Ricky Steamboat. So Wendy Richter went right for Medusa, and Wendy Richter and Medusa, they brawled outside the ring. Unfortunately, while this was all going on, Dangerously distracted the referee, and the United States champion Ravishing Rick Rude rolled into the ring, and he laid a forearm shot into the back of Ricky Steamboat, and that was enough to help his Dangerous Alliance teammates Anderson and Eaton score the victory. So Dangerously, Medusa and Rick Rude all played a part in helping Anderson and Eaton win the tag team championships here. So this match got the crowd hotter. Paulie Dangerously did some good work at ringside, and Ricky Steamboat and Wendy Richter are a good pairing. They play off each other well. Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura struggled with the commentary on this one. That's a bit disappointing. So good performance ratings from all four. So another title change here tonight. So the Dangerous Alliance, they lost one title because the TV title has been lost by Steve Austin, but they have regained the World Tag Team titles. Following this bout, we have a great segment rating, 79. Jesse the Body Ventura gets up into the ring from the commentary table to get some post-match comments from a very happy Paulie Dangerously, who is stood alongside the new World Tag Team Champions, the Enforcer Arn Anderson and Beautiful Bobby Eaton. Medusa and the United States World Heavyweight Champion Ravishing Rick Rude are also there enjoying the celebrations. When we take one loss that knocks us back a step, we strike back and come forth with a double, proclaims Dangerously. We've got the United States Championship here in the Dangerous Alliance, and tonight we've regained the World Tag Team Championship. The Dragon Fire is officially out of flames, isn't it, Ricky Steamboat? Ha! You were so sure that you would retain the World Tag Team Championship tonight and then head towards a United States Championship clash against Ravishing Rick Rude. The championship match that you craved so badly, but your overconfidence was your undoing, and now, Ricky Steamboat, you have nothing. So the Ricky Steamboat Rick Rude storyline has gained heat there. Jesse Ventura came across well in every aspect of that. He enjoyed going off script, and 79 rating there. So it's not looking good for Ricky Steamboat right now, because he's lost the tag team championship right when he was looking to keep that and build momentum to go and get a US title shot against Rick Rude. So a big win for the Dangerous Alliance there, and a big knockback for not just natural Dustin Rhodes, but Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forth and what Ricky Steamboat does next. And then we go into our main event about that had fantastic heat and great wrestling, and Sting defeated the Great Muta, who had Harley Race with him at ringside, in 16 minutes 21 by submission with a Scorpion Deathlock. And the match was designed so that the wrestlers could try and go out and steal the show. The Great Muta was visibly tiring toward the end. Sting had the best performance, 80, but Great Muta, he was okay with 71. And the match had the crowd buzzing. Unfortunately, Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura were an awkward pairing once again. That's not the first time we've had that notification on this show, so that's a little bit concerning. So yeah, a big victory there for Sting, who did what he said he was going to do earlier in the night, and he did overcome the Great Muta. Nothing was going to stop his drive, and as he said earlier in the night, it's a drive with direction, and that is towards the total package Lex Luger and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. 74 rating. But then we're not done, because as Sting celebrates his victory over the Great Muta, he turns around only to be struck in the face with the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, it's held by its holder, the total package Lex Luger. That's right, Lex Luger is here. He's shockingly appeared on the scene tonight at Clash of the Champions. Lex Luger then rips off his own jacket, and he hoists a now bloodied Sting up from the canvas, placing him in the torture rack. And Harley Race is watching on, loving what he's seen. Luger punishes the Stinger with the torture rack before throwing him down to the canvas, and Clash of the Champions 18 comes off the air with the sight of Lex Luger and Harley Race standing triumphantly over the knocked out body of Sting, and Luger proclaims, "This championship is going nowhere, nowhere." So we close with a segment rating of 58, and we finish the show. And the overall rating of the show was 73. So the show didn't result in any popularity changes. It was just like no ups, no downs, just a 73 rating for us for Clash of the Champions 18. So could have been better, but it could have been worse. It did its job. It was a serviceable show as we go towards Super Brawl. So Super Brawl is just a few weeks away, and we are going to be firing on all cylinders, all being well, fingers crossed, as we go towards Super Brawl, and some big things ahead. And you can probably, well, obviously it's going to be Sting going against Lex Luger at Super Brawl, and there's some interesting things brewing involving both sets of tag team titles, the WCW World Tag Team Championship and the United States Tag Team Championships. And I've got some very interesting things in store for Barry Windham and Steve Austin. as they venture into different branching paths, and also keep an eye on what's going to be going on with Cactus Jack and Vader. So we also have Greg Valentine on the scene now as well, and I will say you can expect another interesting face to show up in WCW. And unlike Greg Valentine, who did show up in WCW in reality in '92, I will say that this guy who we've got coming in the next few weeks, he is somebody that, while he did wind up on the WCW roster in reality, it wasn't until years later. So that's going to be a very interesting branch into a different direction than reality took. So yeah, I'm happy with that show. 73 rating. To be honest, I was concerned it would get a lower rating than that. So we work towards Super Bowl now. So I will see you for the next one. Hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching.